is really number 8, the flag lots. You probably have questions about that. What I'll do is just tell you, in my professional opinion, that this is a tool that encourages infill, and it's an important tool that helps to address the issue of sprawl. What we have right now in the current code is essentially two ways of creating these flag lots. And if you start out with unplatted land, you can have flag lots by right. If you have a platted lot and you want to re-subdivide that and have flag lots, then you need to do a re-subdivision, which is expensive and is required to go to a hearing. In addition to that, you need to have a variance. What I'm proposing is that we have the same rules for both kinds of land. I'm also considering not requiring a variance, and that is the only thing that I'm proposing to change, is not requiring the variance. And I'm saying that because no flag lot variance has ever been denied. All the other requirements will remain in the proposal, but a variance, the way I'm looking at it, it doesn't seem to get at doesn't quite seem to get at the concerns that staff has. And I can talk about some of these other items if you wish, or just stand for questions.
I would say, with the concern for overall time this evening, let's stick to the hot item on this one, and we can circle back around to what we might want to address later on subdivision stuff. So I would say let's keep this to flag lots, unless.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, Commissioner Seeger.
Okay. I was on ZAP and on the subcommittee that made the recommendations
Microphone.
to codes and ordinances many years ago. The reason that the rules for flag lots and the requirement for variance came up is because there was a particular neighborhood in central Austin that was getting hit with a lot of flag lots. The problem was that there was no measurement of the width of that flag lot that was held consistent. That's what the variance did, was to make sure that the flag met all the requirements, such as safety, etc., before a resub could be approved. That's why, it was the variance was the reason why we put the requirements for flag lots. Are you saying that those requirements will be automatically upheld? Because they weren't. This was probably 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago. That's what concerns me about that.
What I'm proposing is, if I understand your question, you're concerned that the design of the lots will remain consistent, that the standards will be applied consistently, and there won't be any wiggle room.
Yes, because that was the problem, was that a lot of things were happening, and there was a lot of angst, let's say, in the Allendale neighborhoods about all of the re-subdivisions. And that was the answer, was a requirement for a variance to bring it to the public discussion.
I can tell you what the standards are for flag lots. They have to meet the minimum size. The flag portion needs to be 5750 square feet. The pole has to be 20 feet wide, unless it shares an access with an adjoining lot,
right, and
it
I'm
can be
not
down
here
to
to
15.
discuss that, because that's getting into detail we don't have the time for this evening. I just want to make sure that we don't revert back to where we were 7, 8 years ago, where all of these flag lots were being approved, but yet there wasn't any consistency, or it didn't appear to be safe. That's my comment.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Burkhart.
So, two questions, and I guess the problem that people have with flag lots is the interface with your surrounding context. And so how do you see the design site rule working with the flag lot, with a potential flag lot subdivision? Is there a better way to deal with flag lots using the new land development code and the design site? Are you familiar with the design site nuance of the land development code?
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay,
portion,
great.
no.
All right. It lets you do a de facto subdivision without necessarily creating a real subdivision. So, I mean, it's a mechanism to deal with larger sites.
Are you talking about a condo regime?
It could or could not be. It doesn't necessarily have to be. I mean, it's a mechanism to deal with large sites, to provide development options on large sites. And so it might, in the end, become a condo regime if you were trying to sell properties fee simple, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Is that something? I mean, I guess I'd like you to look into that, and maybe we could hear back from you sometime on that.
I need some more information.
We're probably getting a little bit too far off the mark. I guess where I am is given the problems that people have with respect to the way flag lots get developed and the context impacts that the impacts that they've got on surrounding properties. It seems to me that a design site is maybe a better way to deal with this, and if that could be something that could be used in lieu of a flag lot subdivision, and I guess I'd be looking for some help from you on that. You'll need to know more about the
Sounds like you guys need
piece
to
of the
kind
code. Yeah.
of follow up with each other,
Thank
and
you.
then Commissioner Burkhart report back. Commissioner Duncan.
Steve, first of all, I want to apologize. I haven't had a chance to open the subdivision chapter yet, but I got a couple of questions here. Positive. When you say move some transportation item out, I presume you're moving them to the transportation section
Yes.
chapter, which makes a lot of sense. How do you handle the transportation chapter? Will it also handle ETJ items? It's not just city and corporate area, right? We don't have a urban-rural type issue. I'm confused.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Forget it. And you talk about connectivity and you talk about context sensitive. Those are generally urban type issues, which are not, and our subdivision controls extend to the ETJ. That's not a. Forget it.
Well, is it?
I notice you're moving definitions into the definition section. That's good. I did notice in going through the other chapters that there are sporadic definitions located throughout the draft, and I'm hoping that staff will collect all those and do like you're doing and putting them into
Yes.
the definition section. And the last thing I want to comment on, and it was funny, I didn't realize the flag lots had been an issue. Do you have an illustration for a flag lot in your definitions? Believe me, the average person has no idea what a flag lot is.
That's a good idea, and I'll have to look at that.
Okay. I would recommend that, especially on some of those, if you could copy it from Houston or something, if you agree with it, just put illustrations in to show what these are so that more people understand it. And thank you.
Okay. Commissioner McGrath and Kazi.
I probably have a lot of questions, but first of all, my understanding of the variance process we have was because the flag pole does not meet the minimum width requirement for a lot. That was my understanding of where that came from. So I'm assuming you're changing the minimum lot width in order to accommodate flag lots without variances. Is that correct?
No, well, that's the way it's constructed currently. It doesn't have to stay like that. The theory for a variance is that there should be some discretion in the review.
Right.
And so a numerical standard like a width, it could be either way. You could make it administrative or you could make it a variance. In the current code, the real variance portion is it talks about well, let me just get it out here.
Well, there are several requirements today.
Yeah.
And just as a note, we don't get that information when we get a flag lot variance. It just says flag lot variance, and there's one drawing. but the city asked for tree mitigation and tree drawings and driveway plans and utilities, and we are not given that unless we specifically go ask for it. So we have a hearing based on almost nothing.
Yeah, what the applicant has to provide is a driveway and utility plan, and that's routed to all the reviewers as an exhibit to the plat. And what the reviewers need to find and make a recommendation on are 4 things: that the plat has provided accessibility for emergency responders,
Right.
that there's adequate room for required utilities, it enhances environmental and tree protection, and this last one is up to the commission, that is otherwise compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. That's the portion that's very subjective,
Right.
and that's really the portion that is giving staff a little bit of concern, because that can be anything, but that hasn't been used to deny any variances, as I noted.
Right. And I think part of that is when notice goes out to the surrounding neighbors, there's going to be a flag lot. You know, we're not getting too much response on that. But in my opinion, we have 2 situations. We have this Central City flag lot where somebody finds a big lot and they go, wow, I can just chop the front off and make this little thing. And then all of a sudden there's a great big house. And some of the ones I've seen, you got a great big house in everybody's backyards. And that really was part of the problem several years ago. So compatibility, I think, is enormous, because as you start to line these up on, and then the staff, what I've seen staff say is, well, there's another flag lot nearby, and therefore it is compatible with the neighborhood. And I start to envision these parades of driveway, mailbox, trash can, driveway, trash can, mailbox, you know, because you're getting rid of your front lot width. So I think compatibility is huge. And that's one piece, which is the Central City piece of how can we re-chop our city into the most teeny pieces we can. And we're also talking about reducing lot sizes. So then we're going to be able to take even smaller big lots and chop them. So I'm very concerned about the compatibility. I think it's a huge issue. It is not just, okay, look, we can chop this up or that up, and nobody cares. The second one is, this was one of the recent subdivisions we were required to vote for out in the eastern part of the city, Easton Park. And of course, we see these in pieces. This is another bigger issue, is we're getting subdivisions piece by piece by piece by piece, and we never know what's near them or whether there's going to be a store nearby or anything. And I really want to pursue that. But when I see a whole new, I think this is 300 lots, these are all flag lots. And when you do flag lots on unplatted land, there's no variance. And we approved this thing. It's all flag lots. So to me, this is tiny lot, driveway, tiny lot, driveway. And then the driveways go to big lots that all face on a street. And what does that mean? And where's your trash picked up? You know, in some cities, they actually care about that. Like they make you have an alley and make you pick up your trash there. But in Austin, we don't seem to care. It's kind of like whatever the trash people can figure out. So we don't know where the trash cans are. We don't know where the visitors park. Where do visitors park in this thing? It's all flag lots. Where does your visitor park? Do they drive up the flagpole? Is it no parking on the front street? Is the front street a bike lane? I mean, we have no idea what this stuff is.
Right.
So I'm very concerned. Also, we've been told that curvy streets are not walkable. And so we're promoting curvy streets that are not walkable. I think these have sidewalks, but I just think I think flag lots, if we don't figure out exactly what we can and cannot do with flag lots, I think they're a mess until we figure that out.
I think this goes back to a comment earlier about having a visual of the flag lot and what is, combine that with intent. So we have an understand of, this is what we want. We understand that these are conditions where they have benefits and understand that, but also show what we don't want. And so that we, as a community, can understand this complicated code is suggesting, or not just suggesting, it's dictating this is the direction we should go. And that way we know what we're approving. And I think that would be helpful for for many of us in understanding the subdivision process going forward. Commissioner Kazi, and then you're going to come over here, King, Bela. All right, hold on. We got a lot. We have 4 other topics. So I need everybody to be really judicious with this. Otherwise, I'm going to start cutting everybody off and just saying sorry. So go ahead.